Hi everybody, welcome back to 100% Mags. So this is your match preview for the game against Norwich, and you know the Premier League season starts now for we. Of course, we started on Sunday against Arsenal, first game of the season. Norwich started their season on the Friday against Liverpool when they lost 4-1 at Anfield. They were never expected to get anything really of a win in that game. Possibly could have gotten a draw against Liverpool if they had have went a little bit more into it. They did pretty well in the game against a side like Liverpool, and they dominated the Championship last season. Norwich, they've got a good squad of players. Pookie as well, absolute standout player for them. He scored on the game on Friday for them, and they've had time to rest since Friday. We've played on the Sunday, of course. We now play on the Saturday, so we still have had time to rest, but not as long as Norwich have had to rest, so that could be a factor going into this game. On Saturday, of course, 3 o'clock kick-off down at Carrow Road. But the game against Arsenal, it was just one of them games. Newcastle should have come away with at least a draw, in that game. It should have at least been a draw, because both teams played really well. Arsenal were a little bit lacklustre, I thought, for the first half. They seemed to get themselves into it in the second half, and Newcastle were great in the first half. We seemed to lack a little bit in the second half, but we're still getting good chances, and it was just unfortunate that we ended up losing 1-0 to Arsenal. Of course, when you look at the two, between Newcastle and Arsenal, there wasn't really much of a difference. Arsenal were missing 12 of their mainstay players, and we had some pretty good players in there. Unfortunately, Bruce decided to opt for Maximum coming on as a sub, and Jethro coming on as a sub as well, instead of playing them from the off. So that might have affected things a little bit. But Almiron still had an absolutely amazing game. Joelinton had an amazing game. All of the lads had an amazing game on Sunday. So if they can take what they've played like on Sunday against Arsenal and adapt that into the game on Saturday coming up against Norwich, I think we could come away with a pretty good result against Norwich. They do have a good side. They've got a good goalkeeper, obviously, Tim Krul being an ex-Newcastle player. So he's going to want to put in a good performance against Newcastle. Grant Hanley as well, another ex-Newcastle player. He's going to want to put in a good performance as well. But, it's going to be tough for both teams. It's going to be a tough game. But I think Newcastle's going to have the winning edge, to go into this game. Have a good mentality. Have a good setup, hopefully, as well. Maybe his Maximum coming in from the start. Jethro may be coming in from the start, hopefully the formation is a better formation than we played against Arsenal. I'd like to maybe see a 3-5-2 formation, instead of the formation that we played against Arsenal. The 3-5-2 seemed to work really well last season under Rafa, and it seemed to work pretty well in the pre-season as well. Under Bruce has adapted it a couple of times during the pre-season, but for some reason he didn't seem to adapt it on a Sunday against Arsenal. So that might have been one of the factors behind why we lost out in that game. Hopefully he'll adapt it in the game on Saturday against Norwich. But looking at the past 4 games we've played against Norwich, 3 of them have been draws, 1 of them has been a loss. The most recent one, of course, back in the 16-17 season, we drew 2-2 with Norwich, and that was Jose Perez and Jamal Lascelles scoring the goals in that one. Then, of course, you look at Wednesday, John Joe Shelby was in training on Wednesday after picking up that knock in the opening game against Arsenal, so he could be back in contention to play, in the game. So there's quite a bit of momentum to be taken, from the Arsenal game. There was a few positive moments Newcastle had in that game. Mostly the first half was all positive for Newcastle. The second half had a couple of positive moments, not many, but just a couple. But you know, going into the game against Norwich on Saturday, I'd say maybe Newcastle come away with a 3-0 win. If we can get the momentum to work in our favour, you know, I could maybe say we're coming away with a 4 or 5-0 win, you know, against Norwich. Norwich possibly getting a goal here or there, you know, but it all depends on if they can break Newcastle's backline, you know, because we've got Jamal Lascelles, we've got Fabian Shaw, you know, we've got Paul Dummett, having Manquillo as well has been doing really well for Newcastle of late, you know, so it's all a matter of fact of like Norwich trying to break that back line of Newcastle, because last season Newcastle had one of the best defences outside the top 6, you know, and I think that could be a similar factor this season, you know. Hopefully we will have again one of the best defences outside of the top 6, but we'll have to wait and see, you know, as it takes time for Bruce to gel with the players to gel with the team that's already there, you know, so we'll have to see what happens on Saturday, but I'm going to go with Newcastle to come away with at least a 3-0 win against Norwich. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and as always, remember, like, share, subscribe to 100% Max, and also watch out for the Premier League predictions video for week 2 of the Premier League. I'll put in a link up here to go check that out. I'll be predicting the Southampton-Liverpool game, the Man City-Tottenham game, and the Chelsea-Leicester game in that video. So to see what scores I predict for them games, go check that video out up in the top corner up here. Till next time, I'll see you all there, and how are the lads?